But it was an impulsive thing, and I was glad that I did it because I always recommend to people, whoever it is, to travel. It's just so good
Yeah.
for you, right?
Yeah. I went to Hawaii this January and I
Oh,
fell in love with it. I'm wearing a Hawaii shirt right now, but that's surfing, so that's kind of different. It's I'm also in love with surfing. But yeah, I went to Hawaii and I was like, why are we going back? This is dumb.
oh, it's just so hard to leave that place.
It's just great. And I already am obsessed with surfing, but I just became in love with like the fact, like the nature fact of it all. Like I loved it. I was like, why do we need to like live in houses? We're good. Like
Right.
I would definitely, if honestly, if I didn't do music, I've said this like several times in my life, I
Hmm.
would probably move to some place like Hawaii or Bali and just like get a small job and like legit live in a shack on the beach. Like
I,
I would not.
it's really fun to do that, and I'm doing my own version of it, 12 blocks from the water.
Ah,
Yeah, right now.
yeah. I mean, but that's cool because you get to, stay. That's the only reason I wouldn't be able to leave is because, because I've had issues with depression a lot. My mom's like, "Are you sure you don't want to just like move to a place like Hawaii? Like you're so happy in places like that." And I'm like,
Well,
"Yeah, but then I can't. Then I like give up everything, right? Like I
you know
don't
what you know what I hate, man. But speaking of the depression thing, and I'm not going to get dark on it because I think depression is hilarious, and I could find a way to make 100 jokes about it because
interesting."
yeah, because I spent 2 years of high school being a cripple because I got hit by a car and I couldn't walk.
Oh, whoa! I didn't know
So
that.
I ended up like quitting drums and playing piano, and I taught myself piano. My mom helped me and everything, but then after I started being successful, the worst part about it was all these people came up to me and they're like, "Oh man, we're so depressed because you're so lucky, and we didn't have a chance, and it all got handed to you, and you just no man. I mean,
Yeah.
part of that darkness that you feel, and I had older sisters, but they were so much older. I was an only child anyway because they were never around, and you have that thing where you're driving from Denver to Greeley, Colorado. New Year's Eve, the car breaks down. It's minus 40. You're not going to make it to the gig. You're at this like hotel where there's no heater. You're by yourself. You got Gideon's Bible and you can't even get a beer. And
That actually sounds like my dream, but go on. Freaking love touring, man.
so I'm sitting there in this place, freezing my butt off, and I've got a Fender Rhodes in the back of my car, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to carry a 200-pound Rhodes in because it's gonna freeze and break. And I got the Rhodes sitting there, and I got my Bible, and I got my tuxedo because I was playing a New Year's gig, and I couldn't go anywhere, and that was pre-cell phone. And I just thought to myself that night, which I've never forgotten all these years, dude, you better get used to stuff like this and learn to just say, hey, you know, if you got your music, you got something to read. Hey, if all you got to read is the Bible, it could be a whole lot worse, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So, and from then on, as the moments come, you go up and you go down. You got to try and find a sense of humor in all of this stuff. And, a lot of people would, I'm just going to assume this, go out on a limb because I'm just kind of feeling this, but I would assume that a lot of people would look at you and say, how could this girl ever be depressed? She's beautiful. She's
I say
talented.
that all
She's
the
got
time.
right. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, it's impossible. But
Yeah.
it can happen to anybody, right?
Yeah. And I'm a big, I mean, you know, through my music and stuff, I'm a big like proponent of and supporter of, anti-suicide organizations. I love this organization called To Write Love on Her Arms.
Oh,
Have you heard of it or
it just sounds so sweet. I want to sign my hand and put their name on it
right?
and hold it up to the
Yeah,
camera.
it started with like one friend helping out his addict friend get better, and he started like selling t-shirts to fundraise for that. And so that's kind of what they do, but they also like they go to high schools now and talk about depression and stuff. And it's not just depression, it's like depression, substance abuse, eating disorder, mental disorders, just like anything that kind of like
Hmm.
makes people suicidal. And so I'm like really big on like getting help for that because I feel like now finally people are talking about it. But it was
Uh-huh.
a thing where like I grew up and I don't remember it being described in anything other than like a Linkin Park song, and that was not in a great way.
Right. It's just
Yeah.
like the whole thing about, when people were mentally ill in my parents' generation, nobody could talk about
Nobody
it.
talked
Like
about it. Yeah.
they were more likely to take a person that was, challenged or whatever the correct term is and just like put them in a nut house or shoot them
Yeah.
behind the barn or something.
Yeah.
And so, we have evolved to a certain degree, I think, in
Yeah.
these years, but,
I think it's really, but it's also like it's kind of like something that if you don't talk to people, it doesn't get any better.
right.
So it's kind of, you have to take that first step, and that first step sucks. But, event like my thing is I'm always telling people like get help. It's worth it. Like you're worth it. And
Oh,
um
yeah.
yeah, and it's actually like so every year the To Write Love in Our Arms does like a thing for Suicide Prevention Week.
Okay.
And they just launched their stuff, and so basically they sell like packs and stuff, and they have like a run and just fundraising things so that they can give people scholarships and
Oh,
get mental
cool.
help. So it's
Really
really cool.
cool.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, I never thought that much about suicide, but I did have people that I hated so much in high school. I was hoped that they would kill themselves.
Really? Did you ever
Oh
say
yeah.
that? I hope you never said that.
No, I never said that. I'm
Because
just a,
it used to be like a thing people said to each other, like bullying. And
yeah.
then it
No, it
started
was.
happening so much that people were just like, you know,
Well, that brings us to a whole nother thing about how cruel people can be on the internet. My God.
yeah.
Like,
It's it's
I started watching things, especially after Facebook got invented, and there was just all of these people that had bought my albums, and I don't remember meeting them. I've been doing this a long time, like, more than 30 years and stuff, and all of a sudden, here they are emailing and messaging me about all this depressing stuff. Well, since you went off to be famous, then, my house burned down, and this one girl was like, my house burned down, and then my hair caught fire, and then I got cancer, and now my mom suggested that I set up like a fake marriage with you so you can save me because you're a famous Hollywood star now. I actually got that email, and that wasn't that long ago. It was like 3 years ago, and I looked at my girlfriend, and she said, "Oh, I remember that girl from bars such and such in the '80s," and I was like,
what?
"What? No."
That's
But
crazy.
the fighting that happens and then the back and the forth and the anger. I want to address two things really quick because we have so much more to talk about.
Yeah, I
One
was gonna say.
one is that when it comes to the depression stuff, you know how I've always cured it. I sit at the piano and I write in a minor key until I feel better. I just do.
It's right in dominant chords all the time.
I mean, it's just like, G minor, C minor six, and D7 flat nine, and back to G minor. And you'll find that like as a recurring theme. And then, what was part two I was going to say about that? Oh, just, turning to music as an outlet when people fail.
Yeah.
That really helped me because being a
Yeah.
cripple in high school and I couldn't play sports and I couldn't date anyone and I was by myself all the time.
Yeah.
Music and just I always felt like every minute I spent playing the piano, I was investing in something great, and
Yeah.
I could feel the force and the spirit of God through the piano.
Yeah.
I could connect that way, and sit down and play 6 hours, 8 hours, and at the end I'm like, I don't have any violent tendencies. I'm not upset about anything. All I want is like some spaghetti and
Yeah.
and an hour's worth of let's make a deal or something.
I agree. It helps me a lot. I tend to not release anything or work on anything that I write when I'm in that zone just because it's so dark. And I always want to um I always want to offer like a little bit of hope at the end.
Hmm.
Like because growing up I listened to a lot of Linkin Park, like a lot. It was a moment where like I didn't listen to anything except like Hybrid Theory and then Meteora and then all that stuff.
Okay.
And it was and they talked about that stuff, but it was never like a hopeful end. And then unfortunately we see that in like Chester's life, which kind of sucks. It really sucks. But I knew that there was like a fine line between like talking about it and having people relate to it and try to find hope in it, which bands like 21 Pilots does really well.
Hmm.
NF the rapper, he does that amazingly well, where he goes to like a super super dark place, but then like has a little hope at the end.
Hmm.
But I knew that there's a fine line, and I still remind me of myself of that, between like, being Lincoln Park, where it's like, yeah, that sucks. I also feel like that.
Well, the
So like,
hmm.
yeah, that sucks. I also feel like that, but I just gotta wait a little bit.
I want to talk about this song that you said is kind of like in your past already, but
Oh,
uh,
Candlelight Brands, yeah.
yeah,
It's
because
not in my past. It's always here.
it's well, I mean, I always try and do research on my guests, and I hadn't, looked at your website in a while. So the first video I clicked on was that,
Hmm.
and I noticed right away, like the directing of the video was super cool, and it was way like Portuguese or European or something. That vibe,
Yeah.
which I
I
thought,
so so like I said, I wrote that song when I didn't know anything about music. Like I didn't know any notes or whatever. I didn't know. I literally wrote that song in the time that it is. I recorded it as a voice memo. And then years later, when I was in school and I
mm,
was dating a musician, I was like, hey, can you help me like put chords to this? And so he was like, well, these are the chords that fit under it, and
right.
this is it. And I was like, cool. And it ended up being like a really, like, theoretically, like in music theory, it ended up being a really challenging song with like a bunch of secondary dominants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, good to know I wrote this.
Secondary
Um,
dominance, good to know. Well, the thing
yeah,
about the video that I thought was just kind of daring and challenging and made me feel really kind of connected to your New York side is that after the opening scene where you're sideways and it's just your shadow, then you're in some sort of weird basement full of all kinds of junk.
yeah. So
And
it's
how did you make that work? Where the heck is that place? It was fascinating to look at.
someplace in North Hollywood where all the places filled with junk are.
No,
North Hollywood's great because
no, of
there's so
course.
many warehouses there, and with like just stuff in it. It's amazing. I love it.
The place
No,
was crazy, man.
so that was just a blessing. There's okay, everything in my life kind of happens serendipitously. Is that a
Uh-huh.
word?
Good
Um,
word.
and it's really like I'm really stoked on it. Like this, I had always wanted to do a video. I was like, one day when I have a lot of money, I'm gonna do a video on film, and it's gonna and I also, it doesn't have to be the same one. I also want to do a video that's one shot.
Right.
um and so that those are two things that I always wanted to do in my life. And so this student, he was a film student. Now he's not. Now
Oh,
he's, amazing. He's always
right.
amazing. Anselm Havo. He is
It's
a
35
he's
millimeter.
Dutch. So it
It,
is.
he shot it in
So
35, man. That's
shot it
awesome.
in 35. So he was like, hey, so like, do you want to make a video? Here's the thing though. It has to be in 35 on film, and then it has to be in one shot because we don't have enough film. And I was like, yeah, literally my two dreams
Wow.
have come true. And so we did it. And we just did, we did a bunch of rehearsals, and we recorded it once, and then we tried recording it again just in case, and it was like half a take. And it was great. But so he just ended up using the one shot, which was dope. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was just a
Incredible.
a garage in NoHo, and it was a bunch of trash, and they kind of like built a little path,
I
and it
know. There
was
was like, you had this little kind of
hilarious.
like wizard. You had a little, yellow
Yeah,
brick road kind of thing that you
yeah.
walked during the deal. And I was watching you do that and checking it out. I was thinking, man. And then the other thing that was so cool about what you did is the accordion part is insane.
Oh yeah, it's dope. And all
Insane.
of those instruments are real.
Yeah, I knew that.
Um, and well, there's one that's not. Oh my God.
Oh,
There's
well,
one it gets
I
me,
knew the
but it's
accordion
not
was.
the
Oh,
accordion. The accordion's real. And
yeah,
yeah, no, I just my teacher, my piano teacher, he plays accordion in a gypsy band,
yeah.
a
He's
gypsy
really good.
jazz band. And he was like, oh, I was like, oh, can you, play the accordion, and I'll like pay for your lunch or something. And he was
Right,
like, yeah, that'd be dope. And it was funny because he was playing it really safe. And I was like, hey, like, do whatever the hell you want.
right.
Like, I will take it. I'm like, go crazy. And he was like, you want me to go crazy? And I was like,
Yeah,
yes, do
nice.
it. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And it was perfect and great. And yeah, I just kind of heard that song as it was. So I'm glad that it turned out to be exactly like
Well, I'm just super stoked when I hear somebody do something like that and then take that kind of a chance with the filming and stuff, because
yeah.
I get so sick of watching these overproduced, like, kind of award show videos where you're just like, oh, not that camera angle, oh, not that auto tune,
Yeah.
that
I mean,
lighting.
like I at the same time I was filming that video, I my friend came out with the video and it was really well done and it was really expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't tell me a story at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is a great video, but I feel like I wanted to direct it and like do things that made more sense in this. So I never had any money. So I was
Well,
always
yeah,
just like, what can we do with what we have?
right. That's so
And it always
impressive.
worked out really well.
It relates to the whole concept of me coming from the jazz, jazz background. Like the first two albums I got a Buddy Rich album, and then I got the Doors' first album. Those were the two big influences early on in my life. And then as I started doing more and more jazz gigs, and it was the 70s and the gigs paid $100, and it was the 80s and the gigs paid $100, and it was the 90s and the gigs paid $90, and it was the 2000s and they paid $75. You're like, wait a minute, because you know that that $100 gig in the 70s, adjusted for inflation, jazz guys out there, you should all be getting $412 a night, by the way, as a base pay. And still, I mean, I had somebody call me last week and say, hey man, I got this great gig for you. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know the guy, and he was highly recommended from a friend that's a big rock star. And, now that it's opening up, I'm going to consider every gig offer. I'm not going to just say, yeah. So then he says, well, it's Sundays in Palm Springs. It's a 4-hour gig. And then I'm thinking, oh, dude, it's 120 degrees in Palm Springs. And then I said, do they have a piano? He says, no, you got to bring your own amp and your own keyboard and your own seat and a music
They reimburse you for gas because it's
and no. And then I said, well, what kind of music?
spending that money.
He says, what kind of music is it? He says, well, I'm kind of like a Vegas-y lounge singer, so you'll have to learn about 80 tunes. And I said, does it come with a hotel room or dinner or anything? He says, no, you got to drive back to LA at the end of the gig. I said, how much does he pay? He says, $100.
No, that doesn't even cover gas.
I know you can't even do gas there. But speaking of gigs, the last couple times that I was trying to set this up with you, you were always at a gig. So tell us about your gig schedule and why you have so many gigs.
So I do a thing that, I think this is debated like regularly among the musicians that I know that are my age and stuff. I think we're getting to the point where it's like, do we do, we're too experienced to do free, for exposure gigs, but we're, not super famous. So like, what do we do and how do we price ourselves? And I'm kind of in the realm that people don't like to be in. I kind of, not that I like to, but I'm willing to. I don't care. If I like the gig, I'll take it. So so that's kind of the thing. I do a lot of, like if it's a free gig, but it's for a good cause, or you're like a student and you're paying all your stuff by yourself, like that's fine. Like, let's do it. I'm down. I've been paid a lot of money for a lot of things that I'd rather had not been done. So I unfortunately there are a lot of like gig for exposures or whatever that are good gigs and people know they're good gigs. That's why they don't really pay you much. That kind of sucks.
Well, that's the Hollywood factor that we all kind of hate,
Yeah, but I'm definitely like I had a conversation with a musician about this recently. I'm never, first of all, for all those big gigs, they never told me how much it was. So I had to be okay with getting like zero, and
or scale
but or below scale.
Well, I have a friend that told me back in the day, said you're either going to do a gig because of the contacts you're going to make, or you're going to do it because the music is with somebody who's so iconic. That's incredible, or you're going to do it for the money. those are the three reasons, man. It's just kind of cool and refreshing that you're open to all of those ideas because, you are in kind of a no man's land because you're
Yeah.
right at that age. And then, there could be big things. And when you do a big thing like a Nick Jonas or a Demi Lovato, what a lot of people wouldn't know out there is that that's not 365 nights a year, those gigs.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, it's once in a blue moon.
Right. You get a few
So
nights of that and then you build
yeah.
your bio. But what I always tell people, especially, and I'm not saying this to you, but just in general, everything that you do is the demo for the thing you're getting ready to do.
Yeah. I know.
So
I view the word like that for sure.
Yeah, don't you feel that way? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm finished Demi Lovato. Now I'm gonna go. I'm gonna replace the dead guy in ZZ Top for a tour.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah, it's a very weird. I mean, those jobs were good paying. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I think it's the willingness. I recommended a friend for the Nick Jonas gig, and they called him.
Oh.
And he had to go out of town, so he was like, I need to know how much I'm getting because I need to know if it's worth me staying here and not going out of town and doing the things I was going to do and the plans that I had.
Sure.
And they're like, I'm sorry, we don't know how much it's going to pay. And he was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And then when the night before I found out it was Nick Jonas, so it's like, I didn't even know who it was. I just I thought of the person booking me. I was like, it's got to be someone big.
Right.
They're not going to tell me. So it's someone really big because they don't want us to leak anything. So, and I don't know how much it is. I was like, you know what? If it's $0, I'll take it. And my friend didn't want to take it because he didn't know how much it was. And it's not even that they're trying to be dicks. Sometimes they just don't. They're like, we don't know. We got hired and we have a salary. We don't know how much you're getting.
Well, a lot of times they don't even know. And I found this out on the Bruce Willis tours. Is that things could change.
Yeah.
You get over there and you're, you pull into the Planet Hollywood in Zurich and they're looking at, Bruce and Stallone and Schwarzenegger are all in the back looking at the club's numbers and realizing they just lost like $6 million the month before. What are we going to do? But when I took that gig, I didn't know what I was going to get paid. And then I got on the plane and everybody's like, score, dude. It's like 3 chords and 5 stars. You're going to love it. All you got to do is just show up and play these tunes. It's an hour long. Gear is all there. You eat and drink for free. You fly for free, and it's $500 a gig.
Yeah, and you're like, cool. I'm glad I said yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's. I think it's a hard line to be on. I do look at the content a lot more.
Like the songs and stuff.
Yeah. If I believe in it, I'll do it for free, or if it means something, like especially like if it's for like a suicide thing or whatever, or some kind of cause that I care about. If someone were to come up to me, like I'm really into surfing and the World Surf League Championship Tour.
Oh, I didn't know that you were a surfer. Do you come out here and surf all the time?
I surf a little bit.
Okay.
I haven't surfed as much as I want to because I live like an hour away from any beach. But
you gotta relocate, man.
I know. But so I mean, but everything I do is here. Like for the Nick Jonas thing, they didn't give me the address until literally like midnight the night before.
Right.
I was so blessed because it ended up being like a block. I literally walked.
Wow.
So I've thought about moving several times, but I kind of have to be here. I'm in the center of everything. But
well, it's good. You figured out where to put yourself, and it's really paying off.
Yeah. But if someone were like, "Hey, Rayssa, the WSL Championship Tour finals are in Trestles next month, and they want someone to play like light lounge music for the people that you have posters of on your wall. You want to do it?" I'd be like, yes, and I'll pay you $10.
Oh. Well, if that doesn't work out, I'll pay him 20, and you can keep your gig in Hollywood, and I'll go. I'm a perfect sub for you, man.
Definitely.
I can totally light lounge it all you want. It's not a problem for me. I mean,
no, but so if someone said that, I would definitely be down. Even though I'd be losing money. Just the fact that Kelly Slater would be in the midst, the world's best surfer ever.
Did you see the new commercial? That's the Hawaiian drink. It's like a beer commercial, and it's Kelly Slater and two black guys on the beach.
No, is it Kona? Is it Kona beer? Do you know what it is?
I think it's Kona beer or something, and
Kona beer.
yeah, and
It's
the
the
black
beer
guy
I
is
drink.
there,
It's
and he
from
like
Hawaii.
says,
Yeah.
he says, "Hey Kelly, catch," and he goes, "Foop," and Kelly catches it like this, and he says, "Yeah, man," and then the black guys are like, "Oh yeah, that's cool," and then Kelly goes, "Hey man, that's a pretty strong arm you got. That hurt my hand a little." It's on ESPN and the
Okay. Oh, okay. I don't know
Dodgers
that.
network, and I'm a big Dodgers fan now and everything. But I want to get your bio is so deep. Before we run out of time,
Of course, yeah.
I just want to run a couple other amazing things that you've done by you here, and I think for anybody out there that you need to learn how to build a website that's a positive statement, even though you have suicidal tendencies. And by the way, I know the bass player had suicidal tendencies, so.
That's dope.
um, on her bio page it says SAG eligible and passport/real ID ready. Now that means instead of sitting and moping in your house, you get off your butt, you go to the government website, you figure out how hard it is to get a passport. And
Yeah. Well, I
recently,
have to. I'm not a citizen yet, so I still have a Brazilian passport. So I just like to keep that in case.
well, if you ever need, somebody to like do one of those fake green card marriages, I got 30 guys.
No, I have a green card, but citizenship takes a little bit more time.
Okay.
But yeah.
But that's just, an example of how uplifting and positive her ideas and her concept is about herself. I love that. Netflix Malibu Rescue. What is a Malibu Rescue? Now I'm gonna
It's
guess.
a good film.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess what a Malibu Rescue is. Okay, so
Right.
I'm a guy. I go to a restaurant in Malibu, and I want to have a hamburger, and I look at the menu, and instead of a hamburger, you know what's on there?
Malibu Rescue.
No, no, no. The 5 adjective hamburger. So a 5 adjective anything is how California has screwed up all food in the world. So it'll
Oh,
say
so like a vegan,
vegan, grass-free,
grass
hydrogenated,
fed.
soy, grass-fed,
I love it.
chemical-free, kale-laced, impossible patty.
Love kale so much. Sorry.
It loves you.
It's
So,
great.
so I was at one of those kind of restaurants today in Marina Del Rey, and the girl comes over and she says, "What would you like?" And I said, "I just want the 1 adjective hamburger. So can we I don't want the
Hamburger.
cheese and the weird onions, and I don't want the aioli sauce that I can't pronounce, and I don't want this. I want 1 adjective, which is well done. Can you do that?" She says, "Yeah." So, but when I run into that in Malibu, that's my idea of a Malibu rescue is like
That's
save me,
so funny.
save me from a 5 adjective food thing. Like, if I want to have a panini, I don't want to have a gluten-free, soy-laced. You get the point. So anyway, tell me
Yeah.
about the show Netflix Malibu Rescue.
No. It was so funny because I was like, because I did theater, in school growing up and stuff, and so I
Oh,
was like,
really?
I should probably start, just doing some acting stuff for fun. And I made like a backstage account, whatever. And yeah, that was like the first extra gig I got, and
Yeah.
it's for it's a kids film, and they're a team of lifeguards.
Kids? How old are they?
Like 10 to 14, I want to say.
Oh,
The
I can't
most.
see that having any problems at all. Or
Well, and
that's gonna work out well.
it was, it was a good thing, and you saw like half my face in a shot, which is great, and it was a good experience. And
Wait a minute, you were 10 when you did that?
no. So I was in the show. It's a kids show, or it's
So
a
you
kids
were the
show.
old person in the kid show.
Yeah, I mean they needed like extras and stuff. I can actually pass for a very good kid, apparently. Like a high school age kid. I definitely see that though. But yeah, I've been doing like some more acting stuff. Like I
Oh,
literally just uploaded a monologue just because I was like, I'm gonna try to, do things and keep myself busy. I love doing that. And music is definitely like always there. But yeah,
yeah,
I
for
just
sure.
wanted to do something for fun. So and I ended up being SAG eligible by mistake. Like not by
Oh,
mistake. I didn't try. Apparently it's like a big thing that people try to be
oh, it's
SAG
really,
eligible.
yeah, that's really hard to get.
Yeah, and I did the 2 gigs and and I was like, oh, okay, I'm SAG eligible now. That's cool because SAG started sending me stuff, and I was like,
Right, you get that thing in the mail where it's just, that happened to me with the Recording Academy. One day I
yeah.
woke up and they said, "Congratulations, you're a voting member of the Academy."
And you were like, what?
I was like, "What Academy is that?" Oh, the Recording Academy. Hey, that's pretty cool, man. I'll take
Yeah.
that cred, sure.
That's dope. So basically, apparently it's like the best place to be because you can do non-union jobs, but if you
Okay,
need to do union job, then they can get you on, which is dope. So then you just have to like pay the fee basically
right.
and get into SAG to do whatever job it is. So yeah, so I just,
Cool.
want to do everything and yeah.
You should do more. I wish I
I
I wish
yeah,
I could
I
do
want to.
more because I have one TV show that I get credit for because I was actually in this show called Moesha, and
Oh, I've heard of that show. Yeah. Sorry.
and it was this R&B singer Brandy was the star
Yeah,
there.
Brandy was dope. She was
Brandy was great.
Cinderella.
So I ended up they were doing a show where they needed a piano player to be
Uh-huh.
in like a dance number. So they Rob get on stage and do this. So I didn't get any money for years and years and years, and then like 2018, I started getting like 135 bucks.
Because of streaming. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So
I love it.
yeah, that kind of thing. Now, oh, this is for me. This is super exciting because all we've really kind of done is talk about your quote unquote old music, and boy, you're so old.
Well,
You're so old. But tell me about your new album because I
oh,
saw it in the on your website that you were gonna release it in June, but it's coming
yeah.
out later this year, right?
Yeah, it's coming out later this year.
Tell
So
me
basically it's
about
an
it.
EP. So basically it's like pop EDM with rock guitars.
Are you playing the Gibson guitar in that?
I am. Like, have you that? You okay? I
What?
should post more. Oh yeah, that Gibson. No, I was like, have you seen that guitar? Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's the
Uh,
guitar in that picture I made. Yeah.
right. The promo for, yeah.
Well, I was trying to notice the guitar.
It's really great. It's her name is Harley, or his name is Harley. I'm not on the
Harley.
side of that. I think it's her. Her name is Harley.
Okay.
And she's a beaut, and she's my first guitar ever. My mother,
Oh.
I was always like, I'm never gonna get this guitar, so it's gonna be fine if I talk about it nonstop. And I went to NAMM and I played it, and I was like, this is my baby.
No,
And
gotta have you.
and so I never actually thought that. I was like, I'm never going to have you. Again, hope. And I talked about it, and I learned, and it was like the first one that they were doing with the new owner of Gibson, and it had like all of them are push pull coils and all this cool stuff, but it still had like the standard that we loved. And
Right.
anyway, so I was obsessed with it, and then apparently one of the few weeks into me obsessing about it in January, my mom started saving, and my birthday came in June, and she gave it to me, and she's like, here's your first guitar. And I was like, what?
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
So since then I've gotten into the Fender world. I've gotten a Strat with like a rosewood neck. It's so dope.
Wow.
And yeah, and I have like a Takamine acoustic
Right.
and and a few other instruments. But yeah, that was my first baby.
Well,
Harley.
as we wrap it up here today, I just want to say it was well worth the 3-year wait and getting a chance to just chat with you for an hour or whatever it's been because I've been around the business a long time, and it's a very rare occurrence for me to see somebody that's just got their act together as much as you do,
Thanks.
as humble as you are with the talent that you have. And I'm really wishing you a lot of luck with the new album. Now, when does the new album drop again?
So there hasn't been a date yet, so I haven't specified it. But
People
it's
can
gonna be
watch
a little
your
dope.
People
What?
can watch your social media and your
Yeah.
website and
Yeah, it's literally once there's a date, I'm gonna annoy people with the date, and yeah, and everything kind of leads back to my website. So
okay.
anything anyone wants to know, it's on raysamusic.com, RAYSSA music.com. I did design the website, so I just update things as soon as possible. I don't. Oh, that's one thing I did want to mention.
Go ahead.
I do, mostly because of money, I was like, I don't know how to do things. I need to learn how to do them because I can't pay for them to be done. But so now I write, I play, I record, I produce, I mix, and I master everything.
All right.
And I create all my posters and I create my website and stuff. So everything I do is through me, which
Right.
is
And so
kind of
folks, what I'm gonna follow up and say, so look, support her, send her PayPal money, buy the album, support her gigs. Try and be what I call a patron of the arts. People like this young lady definitely deserve the support and the money. And trust me, in the musician world, there's no such thing as extra money. That does not exist. There's
yeah.
no such thing. All money goes to a good cause. And the other thing I'll say too is that every time you see Taylor Swift giving $5 million away somewhere, it's a huge, like massive drop off that cliff for all the rest of us that are not able to do that. And sometimes, especially with a pandemic, I mean, everybody I know had trouble paying rent, including me. It was horrible. So don't be afraid to just send this lady money and
Okay.
support her career because, she comes highly recommended from me and I hate everybody.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. That means a lot.
All right. You have a good rest of your day and good luck with a new project. Nice
You
chatting with you.
as well. Nice chat.